Greetings everyone. In this recap, I will summarize the action, adventure, and sci-fi movie, Alita, Battle Angel. Please be aware that there will be spoilers ahead, so proceed with caution. The story takes place 300 years after an event known as the Fall, and follows Dr. Ito, a cyber surgeon who discovers a cyborg in a junkyard. Despite the cyborg's damaged state, Ito is able to repair it and brings it back to life. The cyborg, who is now named Alita, has lost all of her memories, but Ito assures her that she will eventually remember her past. As Alita explores the world around her, she becomes fascinated by a city suspended in the air called Salem. As Ito shows Alita around Iron City, he tells her about the influx of people who arrived there after the fall, but how none of them are allowed to go to Salem. While watching a sports show on TV called Motorball, Alita expresses interest, but Ito dismisses it as not worth watching. When Ito steps away to get food, Alita shares her meal with a stray dog and notices a wanted poster for a serial killer who murdered 6 women. Suddenly, a large police robot called a Centurion appears, but instead of moving out of the way, Alita gets ready for a fight, so Hugo pushes her to safety. However, the dog is still in danger, so Alita goes back to protect it. Later, Hugo praises her abilities and realizes she is a cyborg. When Ito returns, he explains that Alita is new to the area. As Hugo leaves, Alita watches him as Ito pulls her away. During the night, an unknown assailant attacks a woman from behind. Later, when Alita wakes up, she sees Ito returning home with blood on his arm. The following morning, Alita observes Ito working and notices an injury on his arm. Their cyborg patient informs them that he has been a victim of cyborg body part theft and mentions a serial killer, prompting Ito to warn Alita to be careful. While outside, Alita encounters Churin, who watches her intently. Feeling uncomfortable, Alita walks away. Churin later meets with Ito and inquires about Alita, noting that she has the body of their deceased daughter. Churin believes that Ito cannot let go of their child's memory and proposes they work together to create motorball champions, with the help of Vector, to earn enough money to return to Salem. Ito declines, convinced there is no way back to Salem. Meanwhile, Alita finds Hugo playing motorball with friends and joins in. During the game, Alita has trouble keeping up and crashes into a pole. However, she later scores a point after kicking Tanji's feet and stealing the ball. Afterward, Hugo offers to take Alita home and shows her a secret spot where they can view Salem. He tells her that since she was found in the scrapyard, she might have come from Salem. That night, Alita follows Ito and witnesses him stalking a cloaked woman. When he readies his weapon, Alita intervenes, but they are soon cornered by Griwishka and Romo. Ito tells Alita to flee, but instead, she jumps at Romo and punches him to death. Nisiana, the cloaked woman, reveals her cyborg body and attacks Alita with her blades. During a fight, Ito tries to fight Griwishka, but he is no match for him. Griwishka overpowers Ito and tells him to watch the fight between Alita and Nisiana. Alita dodges Nisiana's attacks and kicks her to the wall, breaking her head. Griwishka then challenges Alita, but she evades his fists and kicks him in the head. While landing an axe kick, Alita has a flashback of herself in battle, where she was known as 99. Her kick breaks Griwishka's arm, and he escapes. Ito claims the bounty on Nisiana and uses the money to offer free repairs in his clinic. Alita confronts Ito about her memories, and he confesses that her body and name belonged to his deceased daughter. The real Alita was murdered after one of Ito's patients broke into the clinic. Ito sought vengeance by killing his daughter's murderer and registered as a hunter-warrior. Alita's heart is powered by an antimatter microreactor that can power Iron City for years, and Ito concludes that Alita is over 300 years old. At Vector's place, he demands Churin to create motorball champions for him. Griwishka suddenly bursts through the window, begging for repair. Churin initially refuses, but changes her mind when Griwishka says that Alita did it to him. The following day, Churin notices that Griwishka is wired, and Vector becomes interested when Griwishka speaks in Nova's voice, a powerful scientist in Salem. Nova orders Churin to rebuild Griwishka so he can bring Alita to him dead. Nova then transfers to Vector's body and promises to bring Churin to Salem if she pleases him. Ito and Alita discover that Griwishka is off the bounty list, indicating that someone is protecting him. Alita insists on becoming a hunter-warrior to remember her past, but Ito refuses, so she runs away. Alita joins Hugo in a motorball match where he explains that the final champion of motorball gets to go to Salem. During the game, Kanuba and his weapon, grindcutters, catch Chiron's attention. Suddenly, Tanji calls Hugo for an important matter, so they leave the match. Later, Kanuba fights back against two masked motorcyclists trying to bring him down, but more masked figures electrocute him before the assailant's truck arrives to pull him in. As the crew begins to remove Kanuba's parts, Vector shows up to admire their work. Hugo removes his mask, revealing himself and his accomplices as the masked attackers. Vector compensates the crew and instructs them to transport the parts to Turin. Afterward, Vector finishes off Kanuba. The day after, Hugo and his friends take Alita out of the city and tell her about the war that destroyed everything outside Iron City. They show Alita a sunken warship, hoping to trigger her memory, which she immediately recognizes. Alita goes inside the damaged ship and finds an unused cyborg body controlled by a huge orb. Alita takes it to Ito and requests that he replaces her body with it, but he refuses. Alita points out that the warship responded to her and that she must have been a warrior. Ito finally reveals that she's a berserker, one of the most advanced cyborg weapons ever created, and that's why he won't let her merge with the body. Alita departs tearfully, determined to discover her true identity. She registers as a hunter warrior and goes to a bar for bounty hunters with Hugo. Zapan warns her that she'll be competing against them for kills, but she remains undaunted. Alita challenges the hunter warriors for help in defeating Griwishka, but they mock her. Zapan arrogantly proposes to train Alita, but she declines, stating that she doesn't want to train with someone who wastes all his money on his appearance. Offended, Zapan threatens her, but she just laughs. He then grabs her, but she swiftly slams his head onto a table. Zapan retaliates by swinging his blade at Alita, but she kicks him back. Alita turns to the hunter warriors and declares that she is not impressed by their self-proclaimed heroism. She challenges them all to fight her and promises that if she beats them, they must assist her cause. Alita kicks their drinks in their faces, provoking a fight. When an opponent is about to strike her, Hugo uses a taser to help her. Ito shows up and tries to intervene by threatening to stop repairing everyone for free, causing the fighting to stop. Suddenly, the recently repaired Griwishka arrives, and Hugo notices the grindcutters on him. No one wants to fight Griwishka because he doesn't have a bounty on his head. Griwishka commends the courage of the stray dog that Alita saved but kills it when it growls at him. McTeague, a hunter warrior who loves dogs, refuses to fight, though he is emotional. Alita uses the dog's blood to mark her face for battle and faces off against Griwishka. Griwishka immediately attacks with his grindcutters, and Alita evades them. He makes a hole in the floor and challenges Alita to follow him, so she does. Griwishka explains that they are in the place where he used to live and where he intends to kill Alita. Alita tries to kick off his arm, but he's too strong. Griwishka continuously attacks Alita with his new weapon, but she evades his strikes. Alita lands a kick that pushes Griwishka back, but she gets a cut on her leg in the process. Alita hides behind a pillar as Griwishka continues his attack. Griwishka reveals that he owes his life to Nova, the same person who shapes Alita's destiny. Alita attempts to fight Griwishka head-on, but he cuts her into pieces. Alita has a memory of her martial instructor, Gelda, warning her about Nova. Alita uses her remaining arm to pierce Griwishka's eye before Ito and Hugo arrive. Ito carries Alita's body away, while Churin mocks him for trying to replace their daughter with her. With no other option, Ito reunites Alita with the berserker body, which resembles her subconscious image of herself. When she wakes up in her new body, Alita thanks Ito and showcases her new features. Ito explains how she can produce fire on her fingertip by generating an arc plasma, but he doesn't know how she can control it. He reminds Alita that her body is just a shell, and it's up to her how she uses it. Alita walks with Hugo and reveals that she is more touch-sensitive now. Hugo leans in to kiss her, but Nova, who is in Vector's body, commands Griwishka to kill Alita, noting that she is the last of the Technarchy's best weapons. Vector invites Hugo for a drink and compliments his drive, but he is interested in discussing Alita. Alita visits Hugo the next day, and he confesses that he is reconsidering his plan to leave for Salem. Alita insists on helping Hugo collect money for his dream and offers her heart, but Hugo refuses. Instead, he suggests that Alita join Motorball and become a champion. Ito adds safety gear to Alita before the game, as he doesn't know how to fix technology. Vector hires hunter warriors to kill Alita while playing Motorball. Hugo tries to quit his thieving ways, but Zapan arrives and kills Tanji, framing it on Hugo. Hugo throws fiery ammunition at Zapan and escapes. Meanwhile, Alita enters the Motorball game field, and Ito warns her that her opponents are there to kill her. Despite being outmatched, Alita decides to fight them all. As the ball is thrown, Alita races toward it while her opponents immediately attack her. Alita grabs the ball and uses it to strike an opponent, successfully sending them flying back and hitting the other cyborgs. While the crowd cheers, Alita continues to hit her opponents with the ball, even beheading one. As the game progresses into a battle, Alita throws the ball at an enemy and faces off against the others. Despite being smaller in size, she flawlessly defeats a larger opponent. During the battle, Hugo calls Alita for help against Zapan, so she leaves to save him. The Hunter warriors continue to pursue her out of the arena. When two Hunter warriors catch her, Alita pulls an enemy towards her to get sliced by another, then rigs the chains to crush the last opponent into a grinder. Soon, Zapan catches up to Hugo, but Alita kicks him off. However, Alita sees Hugo on a bounty sign, indicating that he's wanted for murder. Hugo confesses that he stole cyborg parts but claims that he never killed anyone. Despite this, Alita chooses to protect Hugo and slams Zapan against the wall. When Zapan reminds her that she's violating the Hunter Warrior Code by stopping him, Alita claims the kill instead. Alita approaches Hugo but hesitates, so Zapan stabs him. Centurions arrive to collect the bounty, so Alita flees with Hugo's dying body. Alita hopes to bring him to Ito, but Hugo reminds her that Centurions will kill them both if she does. Hugo confesses that he dismembered cyborgs, but assures her that he wanted to quit because he loves her. Shuren finds the two, but when Vector calls her, she tells him that they're gone. When Alita goes outside, she presents Hugo's head. However, Zapan realizes that Hugo's head is attached to Alita's body, keeping him alive. Zapan attempts to take Hugo, but the Centurions mistake this as him stealing another's bounty, allowing Alita to take his sword and slice his face. The next day, they attach Hugo's head to a cyborg body with Chiron's help. Ito reveals that the only way to get to Zalem is by becoming a motorball champion, so Hugo couldn't have bought his way up there, despite Vector's claims. When Alita asks how he knows, Ito confesses that he was born in Zalem, but Nova exiled his family because of their daughter's illness. Finally, Alita leaves to confront Vector. When the Centurions demand that she surrender her weapon, she uses Zapan's blade to easily slice at them. She soon enters Vector's office, confronting him about his lies to Hugo. Vector defends himself by saying that he keeps his promise of sending people up and shows Chiron's dismembered body parts, which he's sending to Nova, as it's the only way to get to Zalem. Griwishka suddenly appears and strikes Alita, causing her pain. In her state, Alita has a vision of a past battle against Zalem, where a barrier wiped out her team on a tube that linked Zalem to Iron City. Gelda helped her up and urged her to complete the mission to destroy Zalem. Alita's body then regenerates from Griwishka's attack. Griwishka strikes her again, but Alita slices his grindcutters and cuts him in half. Vector pleads for his life, but Alita requests to speak to Nova instead, who speaks through Vector's body and commends Alita for surpassing his expectations. Alita asserts that she doesn't need Nova's approval to live, but he implies that others may. He suggests that they can track down Hugo and notes that he enjoys immortality by watching others die, which angers Alita, and she kills Vector's body. Ito calls Alita, informing her that Hugo is being hunted, and he's on his way to Zalem. Alita locates him on the tubes connecting the cities and tries to stop him. Hugo argues that he will be killed if he stays in Iron City because of a bounty on his head. Alita insists that Nova wants him in Iron City to get to her. Hugo states that they will always be running if they stay together, but Alita believes they should be together nonetheless. Suddenly, Nova deploys the barrier, and Hugo gets sliced and falls down the tube. Alita reaches for him, but his cyborg body falls apart, and he thanks Alita for saving him before he plunges to his death. Months later, Alita is a contender in the Motorball Champions League but is still grieving Hugo's loss. In the end, as she enters the arena, all eyes, including Nova's, are on her. To watch more videos like this, subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a like as it helps the channel. Thank you for watching.